Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Ultima 6, The False Prophet. In our last episode, we ran into a bit of an item persistence bug. And if you'll forgive me, I'm going to have some of my other characters do some stuff in the background while I talk about it. Now what we discovered is that certain items, items that existed at the beginning of the game that were generated when the world was created. So let's say Shamano's Mangosh and his sword, Yolo's lute, or the Gargoyle Book of Prophecies that was discovered at the very beginning of the game. Or other items that existed in the world, like the Moonstones. These items are considered permanent items. They exist, and even if I drop them and head off screen and leave, those items will remain. They won't disappear. Other items, however, items that are generated by the game in the course of the game, so when I purchase, say, the Avatar's Halberd from Serpent's Hold, or all of the gold that the Wisps created for us and gave to us. These items, when dropped, if you leave the screen, they go away, and they are gone. They are lost forever. They are not considered permanent. The game doesn't keep track of them. The problem this caused, of course, as you may have seen in the previous episode, is that all of this gold that we gathered, well, we had no place to store it. If we dropped it on the ground and left the area, it was gone forever. I think, personally, Chuckles stole it to buy more juggling balls. You can never trust that guy. We also discovered that if you put the gold into this chest here, it also gets lost. Gold is heavy. You can't carry more than a certain amount, and if we put all these piles in the chest together, they end up forming one giant pile that's too large to pick up. Or so we thought. If you drop gold into the chest, for example, Shamano has 3,500. If I drop 500 coins into the chest, and then drop another 500 in, it's true that then when I go to retrieve the gold, it's now been turned into one pile of 1,000 gold coins. However, if instead of dropping the gold, I move the gold into the chest, kind of drag it from the floor, well, those two 500 coin piles I just put in the chest, if I look at the chest, searching here, you find 500 gold coins and 500 gold coins. It keeps the piles separate, and that's exactly what we needed. So we discovered a way to get this gold to remain accessible. It's called moving it instead of dropping it. This will take just a moment while I move all of these piles downwards towards the chest. Oops, let's not move that inkwell. This is a little tedious, but the alternative, not having access to this gold anymore in the game, is a lot worse. And once we've moved this all into the chest, we don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, when we do want to retrieve this gold, it will be a little obnoxious. We're going to have to sit there and move however many 500 gold piles around in order to access this all. But I think we'll go ahead and put up with that inconvenience in order to have all of this gold that, so that we won't ever have to worry about buying anything else in the course of the game ever again. Alright, now that that's all done, now that we finally dealt with the item persistence bug, we need to deal with replacing all of our items. As we drop the items, in order to go get the gold, remember I dropped every item we held because I was trying to make everybody unencumbered. Certain items were lost. Unfortunately, the Avatar's Halberd and his Sextant were lost. We're going to have to go back to Serpent's Hold to buy a Halberd, and back to Moonglow to buy a Sextant. All of the bolts for Yolo's crossbow were lost, and all of the party's torches and lockpicks, in addition to the gems that Lord British gave us. We'll work on getting all that back, but first I'd like to go ahead and get our armor and helms that we were trying to get. The whole point of this was we were trying to get better armor and better helms. Since we're going to go ahead and be getting more armor, let's go ahead and drop off the armor that we currently have. And if this armor vanishes from leaving here, Well, I'm not particularly concerned about that. We don't need the armor anymore, and we don't need to sell it. We have more than enough gold, more gold than we will ever need. We'll consider this a donation to the cause of Lord British's army. If any of his guards need any new helms or armor, they're welcome to take it from this pile. Okay. Let's head back to the town of Trinsic. Go ahead and use our Orb of the Moons. 2 spaces to the south of the Avatar. Now, if you remember, the magic helms and magic armor can be bought from the armorer here in Trinsic, Brandon. I believe he's the only one in the entire game who sells magic helms and magic armor. I believe that they possibly could be found in some other places, but I think he's the only one who sells it. Okay, unfortunately, the amount of time that we spent getting the arms and armor moved around and picking up all that gold went ahead and got him back from lunch. If you remember in that previous game, we had to wait for him for a little while. The sun's passed far enough in the sky. We're going to go ahead and have Shamino purchase it again like we did last time because he seems to have enough... Oh, never mind. I thought he had enough room, weight-wise, not room. I thought he had enough encumbrance left, but he's holding so much gold. That's going to cause a problem for him. So let's go ahead and drop a couple piles of 500. And we'll try this again. Magic armor. We're going to need to buy 6 pairs. Oh, we can only get 3 at a time. But that's fine. Okay, we'll do the same thing again. Looks like YOLO's having trouble having enough encumbrance left to carry the magic armor, so we're going to go ahead and move, again, some of his gold. We'll have to drop it, rather, over here. Okay. Now that should be enough magic armor. We also need to buy some magic helms, 6 of those. Okay, now we're out of gold, so we'll give more gold to Shamino in a moment. Okay, the Avatar and Shamino now have magic helms and magic armor. Dupre still needs a helm, as does YOLO, Leona, and Leodon. So we need 4 more of those helms. Perfect. Okay, we'll move 1 to Dupre. We'll move 1 to YOLO. Move 1 to Leona. And move 1 to Leodon. Excellent. Now our entire party has armor and helms, the best armor and helms in the game. They offer the best protection for the least amount of weight, and that's going to work out very well for us. There's still an empty armor spot on most of them. This is where a neck piece could go. You can get things like spiked collars, which are very good armor for the amount of weight. I believe we can buy those as Serpent's Hold, but right now we're not going to worry about that. As it is, this is a very good amount of arms and armor, which should serve us very well in our future adventures into the Dungeons of Britannia. Okay, so now let's go ahead and head on. We're going to go ahead and continue on our way. Now that we have armor and helms, our next step is to make sure everybody has the weapons and items they need. Unfortunately, that means that we need to get the Avatar's Sextant back, because we need to get back to Serpent's Hold. Now, in order to do that, we're going to have to head to the town of Moonglow. Let's go ahead and find a spot where there's a little bit of open space here. The town of Moonglow, if we use the Orb of the Moons, is 2 steps to the north and 2 steps to the west. And if I remember correctly, the person who sells the sextants is located at the east end of town, down towards the bottom of the town. And unfortunately, I got a little lost here. I'm looking for the gentleman who makes glass implements. And I guess he lives a little bit further to the north than I expected. Because here's Penumbra's house. Over in this direction. Right there, there's Penumbra's house. So I guess we need to go past that. I'll go ahead and let some of the party members kill these snakes so they can get a little bit of experience. We're going to go ahead and rest really quickly to go ahead and let the party... so we can get to daytime so we can see what we're doing. Ah, okay, here we go. I believe this is the correct direction. And if I remember correctly, yes, this gentleman sleeps during the daytime because he observes the heavens at night. But you may also remember there's an easy way to get around that. We dispel magic upon him, and that wakes him up. Because we're impatient. Perfect, we now have our sextant back. Unfortunately, I don't think Attentive, the Avatar, has enough room in his pack for that. So we'll go ahead and hand 500 gold pieces over to Dupre. And Dupre, in return, will sell the sextant to the Avatar. Fantastic. Now we have our sextant back, we can now go ahead and use our... we can now find out our bearings as we're sailing through the seas. Somehow we still have the Lost Book of Mantras. Apparently, we didn't have to give it to the Wisps. They just, I guess, scanned it when they gave us all that gold. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that off in a moment as well. But let's go ahead and head back to Britain so we can get back, back to our ship and head towards Serpent's Hold. Yeah, there's no reason that we need to be carrying this book around with us anymore. Once again, we will ignore Finn. Fortunately, the Avatar is a virtuous fellow and doesn't believe in cold-blooded murder. Because that guy sure gets annoying. Excellent, we now have our ship. All I can say is when it came to that item persistence bug, when I first noticed that everything was missing, I got really worried because if our ship's deed had vanished, that would have really stank, because we would have had to buy a new ship. Fortunately, more items didn't vanish, you know, only a few items vanished, and they're easily replaced, because that can really kill your game. If a plot essential item had an item that was essential to the plot had vanished, that would have been bad, and we would have unfortunately had to resort to cheating, which is something I didn't want to have to do. As it was, I'm a little frustrated that we unfortunately had to restore our game using the save game feature, but that's alright. Not too much was lost. We just, you know, being concerned that there was a bug, we used the save game just to get around it, and going forward we shouldn't have to do that anymore. Okay, we're at 26 degrees south, 15 degrees east. We need to head to 30 degrees east in order to get to the island of Serpent's Hold. And quite a ways south. Now, if we do end up buying those spiked collars, we're not going to buy one for the Avatar, because the Avatar always wears the Ankh here in this slot. And later in the game, there are other quest essential items that the Avatar will wear in that slot. That's a little bit of a spoiler, so I won't get into any more detail than that. But we'll go ahead and leave that spot open. I believe that's the town of Trinsic we're passing, so let's keep heading a little further to the east here. There's one of those shipwrecks that we saw previously. But that means that we're almost to the island. A little bit further. Perfect, 30 degrees east. Due south from here, we should run smack into the island that Serpent's Hold's upon. And we'll go ahead and just leave our ship there. There's no docks on the north end of the island, but that's okay. We won't let that stop us. "70 degrees south runs right through the middle of the castle. So yes, we're almost there, 66 degrees. Looks like we're running into shallow water, and here we are. Imagine if we weren't able to replace our sextant. That would have made this a lot harder. Let's find a nice flat area that we can put our ship on. This should work. And we're right here at the northeastern end of the castle where those cannons are. Just for future reference, so we'll remember where we left our ship. Everybody remember where we parked. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the armor, yes, is right down here. Garrick. We would like to buy some arms. And we would like a halberd. And unfortunately, the Avatar cannot carry it. Let's try moving another 500 gold coins over to Dupre. And see if that'll work. Buy. Oops, arms. For Attentive. A halberd. Fantastic. Now, in terms of the rest of the party, Dupre, I think, is doing alright with a sword and shield combo. But halberds, they use a combination of strength and dexterity when it comes to wielding. And part of me feels like, same thing with a two-handed sword. Leodin's already got one, but there's no reason why Leona shouldn't necessarily be able to carry a halberd as well. Gives better reach, and when it hits, it can do up to 30. It can do up to 30 damage. Apparently, we still have throwing axes in Dupre's possession. Ah, that reminds me of something else I'm going to do in just a moment. We'll get to that in just a moment. I was trying to see if he'd be willing to buy Leona's shield and sword here. Sorry. Leona's shield and sword here. We're going to go ahead and drop those here. I want to see if she's able to carry a halberd. No, unfortunately, she doesn't have enough strength to carry one, so that's fine. Actually, I'm sorry. Bear with me just a second here. I'm kind of experimenting a little bit with the best makeup of the party and how this is going to work best. Because basically, when we're going into these dungeons, it's gonna be a bit crazy. It's gonna be very... Sorry. Basically, in some of these dungeons we're going to run into, there's going to be some incredibly hard enemies that require... We need to have our party able to hit as hard as possible. Now, what I wanted to see is if she's able to equip this. No, it is too heavy for her to equip, and that was my concern. Alright, let's do one last thing. I want to see if Shamino can do it. Yes, okay. My main thought is I want to have at least a couple characters that have a good reach, that can hit enemies right before they're up on top of them. And we'll eventually, hopefully, get all of our characters strong enough that they could all wield halberds by the end of the game. But for now, we're not there yet. We haven't leveled up enough. But that's where I'd like to eventually get the party. That's one of my goals. Yolo will remain with ranged weapons, and we'll buy him crossbow bolts in order to continue to use his crossbow. Now, something else I'm going to do while we're sitting here. Okay. If you remember, Dupre here was carrying a lot of these extra weapons and armor for a specific reason. We were hoping to eventually sell them off. We were hoping that these would be... we could make more money by selling off these leather helms. Well, we now have more than enough money than we will ever need in the game. And frankly, we don't need this stuff anymore. It's just taking up space. It's using up weight. It's keeping us from being able to buy things we want because we have to shift items around. Now, these boomerangs are useful. Swamp boots will be useful if we end up recruiting another member of our party. These arrows will be useful, you know, if somebody decides to use a bow. And this fire wand is useful. But other than that, I'm happy to drop off all these other items, and if they vanish, I honestly don't care. Alright, before we leave, let's go ahead and buy spiked collars. We now own 5 pairs of spiked collars. One for Dupre, one for Shamino, one for Yolo, one for Leona, and one for Leodin. Alright, our party is now well defended. And our avatar now has his weapon back. Fantastic. Alright. We now have our halberd and our sextant. We now have armor. The only things that we need to get back to our original equipment, the original equipment that we had, is some crossbow bolts and lockpicks. Now, crossbow bolts, and torches, of course. Crossbow bolts and torches we can easily find back in the town of Britain, but lockpicks, there's only been one place that we've ever discovered them. And that is the town of Buccaneer's Den. I'm just looking at these gentlemen for a specific reason. You see a paladin with a longsword in his back. Good afternoon, my lord. How art thou? We didn't meet this gentleman last time we were here. Oh, he was asking me how I was, and I said name. I see. I would that I were healthy again, too. But please, my lord, let me tell you of my adventure. Well, what is your name first? Sir Caradon of Trinsic at thy service. And what was your adventure? I've just come home from fighting in you. I fought the gargoyles near the shrine. There I was with 10 companions. Outside the Shrine of Honesty stood 2 gargoyles. I saw them drink from little vials right before they charged us. Large, clumsy brutes they were. They should have been easy to dispatch, but they fought like cyclones. My captain ordered me to go to town for help, and when only we 2 and the gargoyles were left standing. Just as I was returning with some guards, I saw the monsters throwing my friends' dead bodies onto a fire. Then the gargoyles looked up at us and fell over, both dead. Yes, just like that, all of a sudden. I only wish I'd have killed them myself for vengeance. If they had not burned his body, my captain might have been resurrected. For a moment, Caradon looks ready to weep. The beasts! Monsters with eyes like coals and skin like rock. Okay, well that's interesting. The gargoyles are burning the bodies of people that they fell so that they can't be resurrected. The gargoyles are also drinking vials of some liquid that gives them superhuman strength, after which they die. Now these vials of liquid actually become a major plot point in the next game in the series, Ultima 7, the Silver Serpent's venom that they're drinking. But as for now, well, that's pretty unfortunate, and that could be part of why we're having so much trouble when we're fighting these gargoyles. What is your job? I am a knight. Currently, though, I am recovering from a battle. I've just come home from fighting in you. I fought the gargoyles near the shrine, and we already talked to him about that. Farewell, my lord. And lastly, there is a gentleman that I wanted to speak to the first time we were here, and he was not available at the time. Well, he's here now. You see a fearsome warrior. Attentive! You have come at last! Those of you who've played previous Ultima games will remember Santre. Sorry, I always mispronounce his name. It is I, Santre. And your job, Santre? I've been waiting here for you. I heard you had returned. I knew that you would come here eventually. Britannia needs your help now more than ever. Many have set out to fight the gargoyles already. If you should pass this way again, I will be here. I await but the opportunity to join you. Not just the town guards, but any able-bodied man that could be spared from their work. The battle goes poorly, but now that you are here, there is hope. I stand ready to join you. Well, I'm ready for you to join me too. Santre is a great character. Let's go ahead and have him join our party. So be it. Now that we are together, surely the realm will be saved. Another strong sword arm ready to help us fight the challenges yet to come. Let's go ahead and get out of this castle here. When we previously visited Serpent's Hold in a previous episode, I was really hoping we'd run into Santre, and I couldn't find him. I don't know where he was wandering around in the town. Let's go ahead and drop off his weapon, his armor. We're going to be buying him new armor anyway. Once again, we're going to buy ourselves a halberd, and a spiked collar. We'll move both of these to Centre. Fantastic, and we'll go ahead and just drop this sword off. We don't need it, and we don't need the money for selling it. Alright. Now, I would just go ahead and Moongate to Trinsic in order to get some magic arms and magic armor and a helm for Centre, but unfortunately, our ship is here, and we'd lose our ship. Or rather, we need to have to buy a new ship in order to get here, because remember, there's no Moongate to Serpent's Hold. But that's alright, we're very close to Trinsic right now. We are almost there. Now, the town of Trinsic is about 15 degrees east, and a little bit north of 50 degrees south. So we have to head a little bit further north. There's the coastline there. A little bit further north and we should be there. I think this is the island just to the east of the town, in fact. Yep, there it is. And there's the docks. Oh, and unfortunately, the gentleman we'd like to meet is heading back home for the evening. I think he's going to dinner. No matter. We have a nice spot just out of town right here, where we can all camp for the night. And once again, we'll rest for another 3 hours or so. And that should get the sun up. There we go. All aboard our ship, back across to the town. Now, it's still a little early. The blacksmith may not be back in his shop yet. And that's fine. We'll just pass until, we'll continue to pass until the sun moves a little further across the sky. There he is. We just need to get out of his way. We need to buy one pair of magic armor, one set of magic armor, and one magic helm. Wonderful. Now, since our ship is safely here at the docks at Trinsic, we'll go ahead and use our Orb of the Moons to head back to Britain for the last little purchase we're going to make today. Before we quit for the day, I'm going to go ahead and very quickly, I want to purchase some more bolts for YOLO, as well as some torches for the party. After that, we can wait until our next episode to buy some lockpicks, and then we'll go to our first dungeon. We're going to go ahead and explore the very first dungeon that we're going to go into, the Ant Mound. Before we do that, let's head over to the Bowyer. Or rather, I'm sorry, the Fletcher here. And we'd like to buy some crossbow bolts. She sells them by the dozen. And that should be enough, I think. 48 crossbow bolts should be enough for right now. I'm not sure if YOLO... Yeah, YOLO unfortunately can't carry that many right now because he's holding so much gold. But now that we've handed off so many of those... dropped so many of those... extraneous weapons that we were holding onto and shields and such, Dupre has a lot of room to carry stuff. In fact, we can go ahead and get some more bolts. Oh, perfect. I tried to buy 4 dozen. He wasn't able to carry that amount, but the computer detected that he could carry 3 dozen, and it gave me 3. That's good. Saved me a little bit of time. YOLO now has 84 crossbow bolts. That should be more than enough for our next quest, which is our trip into the Ant Mound. Okay. Lastly, for today, we're going to go to the Provisioner, who I believe his shop is down here. Yes. Now, Leodin and Leona, Leona can... I'm looking for somebody who has a hand free who can still carry a weapon while wielding a torch. Dupre and Leona are the only 2 right now, and Leona should have enough encumbrance to be able to carry several torches. We'll go ahead and have Dupre buy them. 3 gold for each torch. Honestly, I'd like to have quite a few. I wonder if I can buy 50. 10 was all he could carry. Well... yeah, unfortunately we're getting a little bit too encumbered here. Now, Shamano has quite a bit of weight left. Let's see if I can hand off... I'm seeing how much gold I can give to Shamano here. Okay, well, we got 33 torches. That should last us quite a while. I'll go ahead and hand 10 of them over. Even that's more than Leona can carry. But she can carry 5, which is enough, and Dupre can hold the excess for the time being. Okay. Let's go ahead and just get out of the way here. Okay, our party is now still carrying quite a bit of gold, almost more than they can carry, but they still have some room left in their inventories to hold extra items. Everybody has a useful weapon, and everybody has a very good piece of armor, a helm, and a collar, except for the Avatar, for plot reasons. We've got all of our quest items back in our bag, we have our sextant, we are ready to go on an adventure. The only items that we are still missing from our run-in with the item persistence bug are our lockpicks. Well, to get lockpicks, we're going to have to go to the town of Buccaneer's Den. To go to the town of Buccaneer's Den, we're going to need our ship. our ship is here in Trinsic. Fortunately, the town of Buccaneer's Den is almost directly on the way to the drylands, the desert that we need to go to in order to go investigate that ant mound where supposedly one of the map pieces we were looking for is located. And that's where we're going to be going in our next episode. In our next episode, we're heading to Buccaneer's Den to buy more lockpicks, and then it's off to the drylands to fight the ant mounds. I will see you then.